Welcome to Interviews with Innocence, a podcast about spirituality, consciousness, and exploring the wisdom our children bring into this world. I believe that our very young children are our greatest teachers. After all, they're the masters of living in the present moment, bubbling in unconditional love, enjoying the messiness of life, and curious about the universe in all its dimensions. The pure essence that young children exhibit lives within all of us. My hope is that these interviews will help us discover, embrace, and connect with the sacred core of childhood that resides within each of our hearts. I am your host, Marla Hughes.
Before I begin this interview, I just wanted to tell all of you that Annalisa's Triptych Impermanence, which is an abstract photographic work created in 2019, was selected among 16,000 submissions by the prestigious Royal Academy for its notable summer exhibition 2022. The theme of this year's exhibition is climate, and it is titled Impermanence. So I encourage you, this will be in the show notes and tell you all about it, to read it and see this amazing work. And congratulations to Annalisa. With that, here we go. Today, I cannot wait to have Annalisa Burello on the show. Following a 15-year career in investment banking, Annalisa retrained as a visual artist, attending a BA in photography at the University of Westminster in 2019. Currently, she is completing a master's degree in Anthropology, religion, in the contemporary world at the London School of Economics. In 2021, the Journal of Transpersonal Psychology published her paper, Awakening Experiences in Non-Religious Contexts, expanding the ontology of spirituality to art and nature as an independent scholar. In March 2022, with two other collaborators, Annalisa launched the Spirituality and the Arts Special Interest Group, a new initiative under the aegis of the International Network for the Studies of Spirituality. The aim of this initiative is to deepen our scholarly understanding about the relationship between the arts and the spiritual realm. Welcome to the program, Annalisa.
Thank you, Marla, and thank you for having me. I'm really honored.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really excited I found you, and I found a lot of people through the Science and Medical Network. It's really great. I'm a part of that organization now, so I'm really enjoying it. So let's just get started. I know in our pre-conversation, we talked a little bit about your background and that, you know, life was a bit difficult for you as a child and growing up. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I had a very conventional childhood in Italy growing up. So, you know, Italy was pretty much a monolithic Catholic country. So I was raised in the Catholic religion. I was baptized, I did my communion, I did, you know, all the proper Catholic education. I went to nursery run by nuns, and then I went to middle school run by nuns. So I mean, I can't say that I've had an atheist education, because in Italy, religion is taught at school once a week for an hour up until the age of 18. So the Roman Catholic Church and education are very much intermingled. So I grew up very much in a Catholic culture. But despite all that, by the time I was 17, 18, I started drifting away from the church. Particularly, I stopped going to a church, masses, and I stopped confession, which I hated. and
Mhm.
I was a little conflicted. I felt a bit guilty because, I was committing a sin. But it didn't sit comfortably with me. The Catholic ideology, quote unquote, didn't sit very well with me. And so over the years, I just drifted away and almost organically became a non-believer because I was leading a life without any spirituality, without any God. I became very materialistic in my thinking, very rational. My career in investment banking was also a very, rational and almost mathematical career. So spirituality just didn't feature in my
Yeah.
life. It
I
was,
know, I'm sorry, I know that you had talked a little bit also about how, when we talked about becoming an artist,
yes.
how it, but go ahead about how you
Yeah.
struggled a little bit with your mental health.
Yeah. So that was my other side. As a child, I was mildly artistic. I wouldn't say I was super artistic, but I studied the piano, I studied ballet. I loved art. Like I loved spending time drawing, painting, doing anything creative. But my teachers or my parents didn't see any talent in me, right? So they gently addressed me towards more productive studies, if you want, more traditional studies. Like I did
Yes.
classic humanities, and then I went to economics instead of architecture. So, and then I ended up in investment banking. So it was a pretty linear development from education to work. And so my artistic wants, so to speak, remained unsatisfied. And the only time I had a chance to do art was when I came to the United States as an exchange student. And I spent a year in Washington. And because I could choose some of my classes, which was something that in Italy is not allowed. Your curriculum is set, you don't choose your classes. And so that was a freedom I never had. And so the first thing I did was to sign up for an art class.
I bet.
And I loved it. It was the best. I still remember it with nostalgia. It was such a nice class. The teacher was very supportive. My classmates were very supportive, bearing in mind that I never trained before. So it's like I was a new student, and yet they put me in an honor class. So obviously the level was, and it was a senior class as well. So the artists in my class were very good. They were very proficient. And I was just starting, so they were all helping me to become proficient. And I loved it. But then I came back, and that was the end of it. And so what happened after 15 years in banking, I eventually left because of a burnout. I had a really difficult situation, very toxic situation at work. And then I had 2 children as well, 2 very young children. And so eventually just my body gave in. I just couldn't function. I was very tired, couldn't sleep. I was always sick. I had anxiety. I had migraines. I had pains all over my body. So it was very physical. It wasn't just mental. And the combination of anxiety and extreme fatigue, I just gave in. I couldn't continue working. And so in 2008, I left the industry just before the financial crisis, which in retrospect was a good thing. And the first thing I did was to go back to art courses. And there again, I found that nurturing environment that I missed in all of my education and career, which was very competitive, a very competitive environment. And so this environment was quite the opposite. It was nurturing, kind, people care about each other. We were very supportive. We would never say anything bad about someone else's, painting. It was big no.
Yes, yes.
Because later I realized, I learned that creativity requires kindness, requires being gentle, and being supportive. So you can't really be creative in a harsh environment or a very critical and judgmental environment, which is what I was. I was very critical and judgmental about myself, first of all, but also about others. So it was something that I had to unlearn.
Yes. Well, I remember during our chat that you said that group dynamic was just so different. It's all about support, what you just said, and kindness. I never really had thought of it that way, which is a very beautiful thing. My daughter is an artist, is majored in art, and is going on to a residency. And I just never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's again, in universities, because of the academic level, there is a risk that students are not being supported enough. So again, we need to, we as a society, we as an education system, we need to monitor behaviors by tutors that may kill creativity, it may kill someone's, because you're taking risk when you're a creative artist.
Yes.
You need to feel confident, you need to feel protected in a sense. So you won't take risks if you think that might expose you to ridicule or a bad judgment or a bad mark. Or I understand is complicated for our education system because everything needs to be measured, right?
Yes. But that makes so much sense to me, that because when you are putting your art out there, whether it be music or cooking or whatever it may be, it seems to me so much more vulnerable than something that's black and white, like, numbers or this or that. And nothing, we need that also. But it's so vulnerable. So the people that do this kind of work are really special people. So can you tell us a little bit about, I know you read the book by Julia Cameron, The Artist's Way, where you said that the author makes an explicit and direct link between artistic creativity and spiritual exercises.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So while I was doing my BA, I had another crisis.
Oh, okay.
And I decided to suspend my BA because I had a creative block. And so I went back to painting. And in this painting course, there were other art students, classmates. And I told them, I can't create, I can copy, I can replicate, but I can't create from scratch. And so they recommended me this book. And it literally changed, it sounds dramatic, but it changed my life in the sense that for the first time, I read this explicit statement that art is spiritual, that, being creative means also being spiritual. And that's something that no one has ever told me.
Yeah.
Never. And so I just want to read you a couple of sentences from the book. She says that she teaches spiritual workshops aimed at freeing people's creativity, and that the artist's way is in essence a spiritual path initiated and practiced through creativity, and that creativity is a spiritual experience. I never in my life heard anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I'm doing art, not because I want to be an artist, as in a professional artist or a professional photographer. I'm doing it because I'm feeding my spirit. And because I have no other spiritual outlet, this is my way of feeding my own spirit. So that led me to a completely different direction, because once I realized what art was for me, not for others, but for me, I then suddenly knew what my final project was going to be for my BA, what my dissertation was going to be. And that, so I did the dissertation on encountering the spiritual in photography, which was, again, a take on photography that was not covered by the course. So like massive blind spot there by my photography course. And then my photography project itself was my creative process this time around was totally different. Instead, I used to have a project, a plan. I knew to go up from A to B to C to D, and then I would take my camera and do the things in my plan. This time, I didn't have any plan. I went out and played with my camera. I experimented. I tried taking pictures out of focus. I tried taking picture with a slow shutter speed, with a really fast shutter speed, and I was playing to create images that weren't the type of images I used to take, which was straight photographs. Mm-hmm. So I tried to make images that were blurred, either because they were out of focus, or because there was movement, or because I did composite images. So they were more surreal, more suggestive. And therefore, they couldn't be read directly. You couldn't, when you saw the picture, you didn't know exactly what you were looking at.
Right.
But I still didn't know what my project was about. And in the meantime, I kind of decided that I liked a certain type of images. And so I took a lot of those images. I tried different things. I even used a video camera. I did slow recording. So I had a special camera for slow recording. And eventually, at the same time, I started doing meditation, yoga, and more spiritual practices that I didn't do before. And so I read a lot of Buddhism. I read a lot about mindfulness. So I kept my intellectual side because I was still researching and reading. But then when I was doing photography, I put that aside and I just played, I experimented. And then eventually the two things came together. So by the time I finished my project, my tutor said, "Oh, it's a conceptual project." But it wasn't.
Right.
It was explained as a conceptual project because eventually I explained the images as metaphors of states of mind. which I took from Buddhism. You know, when the mind is not clear and you have thoughts that keep rushing in your head and you can't concentrate on anything in particular. So the images were supposed to convey different states of mind, from one that is asleep to one that is awake. So I appreciate that it was from an external perspective, it was conceptual, but the way I created it wasn't conceptual, it was intuitive. So that was that's how I think Cameron's book changed me. It changed my creative process. I also read another book that was really helpful, which was by a psychiatrist, Ian McGilchrist. So I put together all these readings, you know, from Buddhism to mindfulness to McGilchrist and Julia Cameron. So I'm still very much an intellectual, like I use my intellect a lot, but then I put it at the service of my creative process rather than the other way around.
Right. It seems to me that what you're saying is that you were bringing out that little girl in yourself, that sense of wonder, that sense of awe, that sense of just playing and free, you know, and experimenting and just romping through. I can just see you with your camera, and that's what we all need to do more of. That brings us so much happiness. And you talk about a series of exercises for a blocked artist, and you've already mentioned a few of those. So can you elaborate on those? Because some of our listeners, they're artists, but they can't, you know, just quit their job and start as an artist without, unless it's making an income. So what are some of those exercises that you refer to?
So, well, first of all, people should buy the book and read it, because it's
The Artist's Way.
Yeah, because it's a program. It's a 12 weeks program. Each chapter is a week, and you have to progress through each week. So it's like a 3 months program. I did, because I'm terrible at being consistent. So I didn't follow it by the by. Like
I'm like that too.
Yeah, I just picked a few things that I thought, okay, I can do that. I can't do that. But the two things that are essential are, one, writing 3 pages every morning before you even start your day, which is it might not seem spiritual, but it's a way of emptying your mind. So in a sense, it's a contemplative practice. And she talks about resting on the page. So when you just write whatever comes to your mind, it doesn't have to be creative, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct, it doesn't have to be interesting. It's really just to printing out what's in your head, like in a printer. And then you take the 3 pages, you put them in an envelope or you put them in a cardboard, don't read them back, put them away, and do this every day for, I think, well, for the whole 12 weeks, but really for your entire life. That's the suggestion. Of course, I didn't, but I started doing the pages every day. I found personally that I wasn't resting on the page, I was working. Like, I had so many thoughts, so many things that were clattering my mind, worries, that I found personally that writing these 3 pages was really hard work. Like I had so much to put down. I often went beyond the 3 pages. So maybe I didn't do it right, I don't know, but
Yes, you did. There's no right or wrong. Here you go. You're the intellectual side.
I don't know. But anyway, it helped. It definitely helped.
Yes.
And then the other thing that is also fundamental is what she calls the artist's date, which is 2 hours a week that you take for yourself, to take yourself out on a date. And you just do whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's going to watch a movie in the cinema or going to an art exhibition or walk in the park or going shopping, I don't know. But it has to be something that you want to do for yourself. So it's like your play date.
Yes. Yes.
Right? For adults. It's the time you take once a week just to play with yourself. Sounds bad, but
yes.
play
Yes.
with your inner child, which you brought up earlier. And it's really, so her book is really about rediscovering our inner child and protecting it from all the judgments, all the negative thoughts, all the negative comments we received, over the years. So you have to shed all that and let this child, who is the one that brings awe and wonder to us, right? So it's really about so being present really requires rediscovering this sense of enchantment about life. And so art does that in a very real way, because you have to be present. When you do any kind of art, your attention is on your art, whether you're playing an instrument or painting or dancing, your attention has to be on the activity that you're doing. You can't think about the shopping, the children, the financial problems. You can't. So you have to focus on your art. And I personally, it might be a personal thing, but for me, is beauty that that enriches my spirit. So doing something beautiful, whether it's a painting or a dance or a piece of music, it really lifts my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's true for anyone. Beauty is something that we need, just like water, just like food. We need to expose ourselves to beautiful things, whether it's a sunset, whether it's a meadow or a forest or beautiful children. Mm-hmm. We just need to soak in beauty. And I think obviously art is a great way to
absolutely
do that.
Annalisa, how is this, first of all, how has it changed you personally, and also how did it change the way you interacted and raised your children?
Yeah, so I had to think about this question because I don't feel that I am radically different. But what's changed is that I now feel I have a clear direction, which I didn't have when I quit my job back in 2008. And for me, it's very important to have a direction. And I suppose people talk about purpose. They talk about meaning. And so this new direction that I've taken, so my new direction is I want to promote this discourse of the connection between art and spirituality. And so that's my mission. So I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And maybe when I finish with my studies, I also will go back to being a creative artist, hopefully more creative than I used to be. So that is giving me purpose and is also meaningful. and for that reason, I now feel like I have a meaning on earth. Like I am,
Yes.
I am doing something that is not for me, because it's not about my art, but it's for the good of, humanity, society, or even if it's a small community of artists, it doesn't matter, as long as I am creating something that helps people. And I know I've met over the last year, maybe, a lot of artists that are relieved that they can talk about this with me. And so this initiative with INSS, the International Network for the Studies of Spirituality, is about that. It's about creating a safe space for contemporary artists to come and talk about their relationship between art and spirituality. And it's fascinating. It's really fascinating because, first of all, it's not just about visual arts, it's about all arts, music, poetry, performance art. So the variety is amazing. You come across so many different creative people. And so first of all, there is this exchange of ideas. And so we are cross-pollinating different artists, different arts. Mm-hmm. But we also have scholars that want to understand the importance of art for our mental health and for our spiritual health. So they're also interested in understanding why art is so important and why it should not be at the bottom of the hierarchies of subjects that we learn at school. So typically in America, when they have to cut budgets, they cut the arts. And this is true everywhere. So the arts are the first thing to go in any curriculum. And it's a mistake.
Yeah.
It's a big mistake, I think, because first of all, for mental health reasons, although that you have sports, so sports are also, good for that, but not everybody is sporty, that.
Right.
I wasn't. So you still need people to be able to be creative. They need to be creative, especially young children and teenagers. They need to cultivate that creativity. So I got carried away. But in terms of my children, they're now, so my son is 16 and my daughter is 18, and she's gone to university. First of all, she's studying economics, but not because we told her to study economics. It was her choice. I was very supportive if she wanted to do art, or if she wanted to do drama and go to drama school, or singing, music. I would have supported her in whatever she wanted to do. Mm-hmm. My son is bringing art as a GCSE, which is a big deal because it's a lot of work. So I think even though we're not doing spiritual practices like meditation or praying or, traditional spiritual practices, I think that I have given them permission by doing what I'm doing, by being a model. I've given them permission to explore their artistic side, right? Then they can choose to leave it if they prefer maths. If they enjoy the sciences more than they enjoy the humanities, that's fine. But at least they won't, when they will be 40 years old, they won't think, oh, my parents didn't let me do this, and
right.
And I never had the chance.
I believe it is so important to do that, and also watching you live your life and how you've changed directions, but it's one really complements the other. Don't you agree? I mean, when you are at a young age able to really have the mentors in your life that give value to creativity and all these different forms of art, it just helps you in no matter what direction you go in your life. If you become a neuroscientist, it helps you in every manner because you're just so much more well-rounded and open. And as you say, the kindness also, that part of it, being grateful and kind. And I just love that. Do you have any, what would you say your words of wisdom are today?
Yeah. So I had to think about, oh my God, I'm not such a wise person. So I think, like just what you said just now, is to respect and nurture your spiritual self. Whatever nature or come si può dire? It can be about nature itself. It can be about art. It can be about sports or physical activity. It can be about well-being. It can be about religion. So don't limit yourself. Like, it doesn't have to be going to church and praying or meditating. That's a rather narrow conception of spirituality, which
Yes.
Might put some people off, right? So we're not all contemplatives. We're not all mystics. Some of us need to move. So you can cultivate your spirituality through dance, through yoga, through marathons. You can cultivate spirituality through a walk in a wood, through or going scuba diving. It's an amazing feeling. Encountering animals is an incredible experience. It is spiritual. It is a spiritual experience, because one thing that particularly nature does is to reawaken ourselves to our interconnectedness. So the ecosystem is all interconnected. So that is a big part that spirituality reawakens, is our sense of being connected to something bigger than us. Because the main objective of spiritual practices is about forgetting your ego. So most, religious spiritual practices are all about forgetting your ego. And therefore, when you forget your ego, then you connect with others. Then you see that you're part of a bigger picture, of a bigger plan, of a bigger universe. And so that's why it is important, in my opinion,
Yes.
to have this conversation, particularly now, but always, but especially now, because we need to see that every action we take has a reaction somewhere else. So we need to recuperate that sense of interconnectedness of the environment, the planet, the earth, and just be more empathetic,
Beautiful.
compassionate, kind. So all these all these
Yes.
they are spiritual values, right? They are things that you learn from spiritual traditions and religions and philosophies.
And also you talk about,
and they're
and it's exactly what you just said, which thank you. That was great. But how art can be used as a healing practice. And you just brought that brought that in, but would you like to say a little something about that to wrap it up?
Yeah, so art, first of all, has been recognized as having therapeutic benefits for patients,
Yes,
for children, particularly in hospitals, but also for terminal patients or elders. So several hospitals are introducing art activities and singing. They're bringing singing to patients, which is also an interesting thing that came up in our last event. So this is I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but when somebody is about to die, they sing to the person and to accompany
them.
I think it's beautiful.
To the other side.
That's what I want.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So arts have this therapeutic qualities, and I think the reason is because of this being present, being in the moment, and shutting down the chatter in your head, the worries. And for me, the other thing was beauty, as I said. So it was about doing something beautiful. And it made me feel accomplished. It made me feel that I was good at something and that I could control it as well. And that it gave me a sense of accomplishment, because if I kept practicing and I kept working on something, I could get better at it. And then I could get better results. And then I had and I think the other thing is about using your hands, which, especially now, we don't do so much, knowledge economy workers, we hardly use our hands. So art is maybe not music, I guess, yes, you do use your hands, but art especially is very material, is very, it's you use your hands. And I think that's also something that
absolutely
is therapeutic.
Yeah,
for
get our
us,
hands dirty,
because we don't use our hands so much anymore.
Yeah. Yes, so important, just like a young one. Well, Annalisa, thank you so much for coming to the show today. This has been fascinating, and I'm so excited to share this with my daughter. She's going to love it. So glad we found one another, and you're doing such important work. It's really beautiful. So thank you so much, and it's evening there, so have a good rest of the day. Okay, thanks, Annalisa.
You too. Bye, Marla.
Thank you so much for listening in today. If you want to learn more about the show, you can find us at interviewswithinnocence.com and on Facebook or Instagram at Interviews with Innocence. Please write me a message, tell me what you liked, and let me know what else you would like to hear. I would love to hear from you. And if you liked what you heard, please leave us an iTunes rating and review. It helps other listeners find the show. Thank you.